Hey guys, this is the last video that I'm going to be making. This is going to be factoring when we actually have a number in front of the x squared now. Remember the last video I made, there was no number in front of the x squared, so it was implied to be 1. Today we're going to be looking at ones where there's actually a number there, and so it's a little bit different process, but it's still not too bad if you practice it. Alright, so first off, let's review. If I had a problem like this, where I have a sum times a sum, remember you have to use your FOIL or your double distribution to simplify that, right? So you take 2x times 3x, which is 6x squared. I'm going to zoom in here so I can write a little easier. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared, and then you've got your 2x times 2 is 4x, and then you've got your 5 times 3x, which is your 15x, and then 5 times 2 is 10. And then remember these two terms here in the middle, you add together and you get your final answer of 6x squared plus 19x plus 10 is your final answer. Today our problems are going to look like this, and we're going to be going in this direction, and we want to have our final answer be a factored form of it. Now, before we get into how to actually find those, let's talk about where we get to the 6x squared plus 19x plus 10, so we can work on reverse engineering this to get our where we started from. Okay, so 6x squared, that is found by taking this term times this term. Okay, so that implies that whatever I get for 6x squared, those have to be factors of these numbers here and here. Okay, and in fact 2 and 3 are factors of 6, right? So 2 times 3 is 6. That's the only option there. And then for 10 out here, when we get 10 is we take 5 times 2. So again, that implies that 5 and 2 have to be factors of the last term. Okay, so so what we're going to do is we're going to take the factors of the first term, the factors of the last term, and we're going to start putting them into positions in something that looks like this, so that way we can end up getting the middle term. That is the key on this as to whether or not we factored it correctly, is that middle term. Okay, because we can come up with a bunch of factors of 6, we can come up with a bunch of factors of 10, but unless we use the correct factors in the correct order, we're not going to get 19, because when I multiply in this one, I get 4x and 5x, or 15x, and get 19x. Okay, so let's take a look at one of these. So let's say I've got this expression right here, 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. Okay, so again, our final answer is going to look like something like this, kind of two multiplications in there. Okay, now to get 3x squared, I'm going to go out here to the side. I'm going to write out my factors of 3. Well, luckily 3 is a nice number for us. There's only one option for 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and that is our only option. And so that implies then that one of these has to be x, one of these has to be 3x. And that's our only option there, because x times 3x is 3x squared. Now for 4 out here, I'm going to write out my factors of 4. Now I've got a couple options here. I've got 1 times 4, and I've got 2 times 2. Okay? Either one of those, when multiplied, will equal 4. This is where a little bit of guess and check comes into play. Okay, we have to guess as to which pair of factors we want to try. Okay? And the way I wrote it was 1 and 4, and then 2 and 2. And honestly, I have not done this problem yet. I don't know what the answer is off the top of my head here, so I'm just going to go with this as I go. 1 and 4. So I'm going to say this is a 1, and this is a 4. Put a plus and a plus. And now what I need to do is I need to check and see if this actually works out to be 8x in the middle. Okay? It might not. This is where I need to check it and guess. Or after I've guessed, now I need to check. Okay? Now, x times 3x is 3x squared, so I don't really have to multiply those. And then 1 and 4 is 1 times 4 is just 4. I don't really need to do anything multiplying those. But 1 times 3 and 4 times x, those I need to multiply. Okay? 4 times x is 4x. 1 times 3x is 3x, and when I add those together, I get 7x, which is not what I want. So this tells me that 1 and 4 doesn't work here. So what I need to do is I need to fix that. So instead of using 1 and 4, I'm going to use 4 and 1. I need to flip those around and see if it works now. And so x times 1 is x, 4 times 3 is 12, x plus 12x is 13x, which again is not what I want. I need this to be 8x up here, not 13x. So again, that doesn't work. 4 and 1 clearly is not my option here. So now let's go with 2 and 2 and see if this gets me where I need. X times 2 is 2x, 2 times 3 is 6x, 2x and 6x is 8x, which is what I want up here. So my final answer is x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. Okay. Now again, this is just a little guess and check option, reverse engineering on this thing. There are other methods that we can use, and I'm going to save those for next year. This year, all we're going to be focusing on is guess and check and being able to just work backwards. Okay. Well, I'm going to do one more example with you. Okay. 6x squared minus 29x minus 5. Again, I'm going to take my factors of 6 out here and my factors of negative 5 over here. Factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Got a couple options there. For negative 5, I've got negative 1 times 5 or 1 times negative 5. Okay, so I've got a few options here. And I'm going to use some guess and check again. So again, I've got 1 and 6. So I'm going to say 1x, 6x, and then I've got negative 1 and 5. So I'm going to go minus 1 plus 5. I have no idea if this is the correct answer. I'm just going to use some guess and check and find out. So starting off with, I know that x times 6x is 6x squared, and so I know that works. And I know that negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. I know that works. Again, we need to come up with numbers. We need to come up with that middle part there to equal negative 29. And so now I multiply. 5 times x is 5x. Negative 1 times 6x is negative 6x. 5x minus 6x is just negative 1x. So this obviously tells me that negative 1 and 5 doesn't work. The easiest thing to do at this point now is to go ahead and switch around negative 1 and 5 right there. See if this works. So 5 times 6x is 30x. X times negative 1x is just negative x. This gives me a positive 29x. Notice that on the original equation, it's negative 29x, not positive 29x. And so I need to do one more thing here to make that a negative. I need to change these signs around, because now when I do that, this gives me a negative 30x, this gives me a positive 1x, which gives me the negative 29x I'm looking for. And I can stop now. Once you get to your answer, you can stop. And there's your final answer. Okay? One last little thing, sometimes these things are not factorable. If you go through all of the options, every single possibility, and it still cannot be factored, it is said to be prime. Okay? A prime polynomial cannot be factored. Just like with a prime number. Remember, a prime number is like 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. Okay, numbers that are only divisible by themselves in 1. Well, sometimes a polynomial is a prime polynomial and cannot be factored. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to join me on Zoom, and I will be happy to answer those. And I will talk to you at some other juncture, I hope. And but remember, this will be the last video, and I'm going to go ahead and post the last mastery quiz along with it. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.